Fox News has learned the House Intelligence Committee is expected to vote Tuesday on a report about its investigation into President Trump's dealings with Ukraine, and is expected to submit that report for consideration by the House Judiciary Committee this week. This comes as the Judiciary panel invites President Trump to its first impeachment inquiry hearing Wednesday. The White House has yet to respond publicly. Meanwhile, the new inquiry schedule shows the House Intelligence Committee drafting the report of its findings on Monday and voting on it Tuesday. Then the House Judiciary Committee will use the report to consider former charges in Wednesday's hearing. As the inquiry enters a new phase, the White House facing several deadlines, with House Democrats giving the president until Friday to respond to whether his counsel will participate in Wednesday's proceedings, and for the White House and Republicans to introduce counter evidence or witnesses. The Judiciary Committee plans to consider the referrals on Monday. Our guest serves on that committee. Arizona Republican Congressman Andy Biggs is also the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus. Congressman, great to see you.
Good to be with you, Mike.
So the first deadline later today, when President Trump's being asked to tell Gerald Nadler, the chairman of your committee, whether he plans to have his legal counsel participate in that committee process. What are your expectations on that front?
Well, I'd be hard-pressed to say that he's going to answer by a deadline artificially set by Mr. Nadler. We are not even sure who that panel is going to be yet. It's going to be a bunch of law professor types. We don't have the intel report. This whole thing's been an illegitimate process so far, so why legitimize this with the President's counsel appearing on Wednesday?
Then it's expected House Intelligence will vote on its report, send it on to Judiciary. How heated do you expect things to get on the committee on which you serve?
Well, there's a bunch of brawlers sometimes on the Judiciary Committee, so it should get pretty hot and under the collar as we go along. I don't think things have been done the way they've been done in the past, Mike, and so it causes some rancor, and it should be much more feisty, I would say, than the Intel Committee was.
Interesting. Okay, on Wednesday, your committee will hold its first impeachment hearing. It sounds like historical context of impeachment featuring scholars and experts. What will be your approach?
Well, since our ranking member Collins has asked that we have a fair disbursement of guests, these are law professor types. They're going to come in, they're going to harangue us about why we should impeach. And we're going to be able to bring in one person at this point. So it's really not fair odds. Hopefully he'll broaden it out and we get a broad perspective, and so we can go that way. And there'll be a lot of questions asked. And I think a lot of speeches given in my committee.
I want to play for you a clip from your colleague Hakeem Jeffries from Fox News Sunday.
We don't work for this president or any president. We work for the American people. We do have a constitutional responsibility to serve as a check and balance on a potentially out-of-control executive branch. That is not the Democratic Party playbook. That, in fact, is the James Madison playbook. The founders didn't want a king. They didn't want a dictator. They didn't want a monarch. They wanted a democracy.
Congressman, your reaction to that clip?
Well, first of all, I get along with Mr. Jeffries, and I would just say this. He's all wrong about impeachment here, because the deal is this. When James Madison and the founders were debating impeachment, they put that into the Constitution, and the debate in the Constitutional Convention is very clear. They put that in there. If you have an executive that is so dangerous to this country, you need to remove them immediately. That's why they put in high crimes, misdemeanors, bribery, and treason. Those are very unique, very emergency-type situations. If this is an emergency-type situation, why have the Democrats been trying for 3+ years to remove this president? It just does not ring true when I hear somebody say, well, we didn't get run to be impeaching a president, or we're not in it with a preconceived notion. The reality is it has been cooked in for 3 years on the Democrats to try to remove this president. That is antithetical to the very reasons why you have impeachment.
You've been back in your district there in Arizona. Do you expect some moderate Democrats will come back telling leadership they got hammered by their constituents back home who do not want impeachment?
I do. In the 31 swing districts right now that have Democrats in those seats that could go back to the Republicans, I think that they've got to be looking at the polling data that I've seen where it shows that support by independents, leave out the Democrats, leave out the Republicans, but by independents, is softening on impeachment. So that makes it very difficult for those people who want to get reelected to come back in those 31 seats.
Then there's the issue of the Justice Department Inspector General's report on surveillance of the Trump campaign in 2016. That's due in 8 days. Are you expecting any bombshells in it?
Well, I kind of think that it's going to be pretty hard hitting. I think that we're going to see a lot of misconduct on the part of senior leaders in the FBI and DOJ with regard to obtaining FISA warrants. We're going to see failure to allow exculpatory evidence, and I think you're going to see actually some problems with the affidavits submitted to the court in support of those FISA warrants they were trying to get. The question that will be, will the Durham team, will Attorney General Barr's team bring indictments and prosecute any of these people for misconduct?
Mm-hmm. The New York Times has reported while the FBI was careless and unprofessional in pursuing the Carter Page wiretap, there was no criminal wrongdoing. Should folks hold off to read the entire report, sir?
Absolutely right. I find it interesting that the New York Times got a leaked version, or claims they have a leaked version of it, and they're already trying to spin it. This is a normal process from the left, is to get something out, try to leak it and spin it and create a narrative before the actual document or hearing it takes place.
We know the Inspector General is due to appear before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Would you like to see him on the House side as well?
I would, and I would anticipate that we would at some point, just as we did in the last report that he issued.
Well, Congressman Andy Biggs of the great state of Arizona, looking forward to seeing you back on the Hill for another huge week in this impeachment probe. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you, Mike.